Welcome to the first official episode of someone else's survival guide. It has been a hot minute since I have sat down and recorded. It's taken me a little while to get back into the groove and feel motivated, honestly, to sit down and talk with you. I have been going through a lot, and this episode is going to be extremely honest and extremely vulnerable, and I'm ready to sit down and tell the truth and open everything up, be very transparent, and let you all know what's been going on, why I have not been here, what I've been going through, and also what I've been doing to pull myself out of the hole that I was residing in. Honestly, the last 3 years of my life has been really difficult. It's been very up and down. I kind of found myself in this space where I felt really dark and low and alone and just not like myself. I started feeling like a shell, and everything kind of came to a head, and I smashed it all apart. And here we are. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending your time with me, and I hope that you can learn from my life lessons and gain a bit of perspective, maybe a little bit of knowledge that helps you navigate your life in a easier or better way. We are in a brand new setup. I have moved into an apartment, which has been great. I also, I'm sure you have noticed, have a new mic. So hopefully I've kind of got like a new setup. I'm experimenting with this right now, trying to make sure that I have everything working. So hopefully this works. If not, we'll do it again, but hopefully this first run through works. The mic is not connected to my phone. It's connected to a computer, and then I'm recording on the phone. So just, making sure that all of this is like cohesive and working together might be a bit of a trial, but I think I've got it all figured out. Hopefully the sound quality will be a little bit better as well. I did really love my little mini mics, but the sound, honestly, after recording off-brand episodes, my other podcast with Andrew, listening to the quality difference between his professional mics and my mini non-professional mics was honestly humbling. The sound quality is just not good with those mini mics. It's better than just using like the iPhone camera mic, but this will hopefully be quite a bit better quality. It will sound better for you and have a little bit less feedback, less echo, and we'll just, we'll continue to elevate the podcast as we go. So before we start, I am going to start burning some sage because I have been burning sage essentially 24/7 for the last 2 months. And that is just because I really want to clear out all the bad negative energy that's around me. And I'm trying to call all of the energy that I've given to others back to myself. And so to start this episode, I am going to light some sage, and I'm going to let that burn as long as it feels it needs to. I do need to step over and open a window up though, because you do need to open up a window or a door or have some way for that smoke to carry the energy out. So we're going to get our sage going, and then we are going to get into it. Today's episode, it has been a bit of a trip for the last few months. Even honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, the last 3 years, almost 4. So there's been bits and pieces that I have shared on the podcast, but to be completely open, I was in a space of touch and go for the last 3.5 years with my ex. This podcast is by no means a way of me like attacking this person or negatively speaking about them, venting or anything like that. That is not the purpose of this. I want to make that very clear. I'm not going to be naming names or talking shit. That's not where I want to be, and that's not the kind of person I am. This is someone I still care about, and life goes in mysterious ways and moves the way it needs to. And sometimes, regardless of how much you care about someone, it doesn't mean that they're your person. And so that is what I have been battling. And I'm already feeling myself getting emotional. That's probably going to happen a few times in this episode. I'm not a person to cry on camera, but I am going to be very upfront and very vulnerable about how I'm feeling, how I've been managing all of this and dealing with all of this. And so that's extremely hard. I have been through a lot of really toxic and unhealthy relationships, and there's varying levels of that. I think this by far has been one of the most difficult for me, and that was a bit of a shock to my system. There wasn't necessarily any one thing that happened or went wrong. It was just kind of this slow falling apart. And as someone who is more anxious and someone who pays attention very closely to the people around me and tries to kind of keep the peace and save the people around me, I had a really hard time watching and feeling this relationship with someone that I really cared about just kind of slowly disconnect and pull apart and end. And that can be really hard. I also, as a part of this relationship ending, I made a very difficult decision to surrender my cat to my ex-partner for a multitude of reasons, and not to minimize the relationship at all, but letting go of my cat and that bond that I had built with him. I had him for 9 years. That has been really difficult. I got my cat George when I was going through an extremely abusive relationship, and he absolutely saved my life multiple times. Just having another being to care for kept me going quite a few times. He was a comfort to me. People that have pets will understand this. People that don't have pets, you probably won't get it. But it's very difficult to have this little buddy for 9 years and then just not. So that has been raw. It's been weighing heavily on my heart. It was a really hard decision. But at the end of the day, I do know that this ex-partner of mine will love and care for him and is just as bonded with him. And if there was anyone else in the world that I trust and know would take care of George in the way that I would, I know that my ex-partner will do that. And so part of this relationship ending was also my relationship with my cat ending. And so not only did I lose someone who I was very close with and cared for very much, I also was letting go of George. And so the grief has been very heavy. I spent a lot of the Christmas kind of break and holidays alone, quiet, very low, very full of grief, very sad, and just kind of like working through and allowing myself to feel all of those emotions and not shy away from anything. Which is different for me. I do tend to intellectualize my feelings and kind of like logic myself through them instead of actually allowing myself to feel them and let them move through my body and release them in the time that they need. I do tend to rush that process a little bit. And so I was very intentional this time. I knew that at this point in my life, there were a few things that I needed to very intentionally shift and change. Otherwise, I was going to continue to repeat the same cycle. And to be quite frank with you, I was not mentally or physically in a place where I was going to be able to repeat a cycle that I had been. So, it's been heavy and it's been dark over here, and I'm sure some of that has come through on the social media that I have shared. I have still been working and, taking part in my life as much as I needed to, but all of the extra kind of fell back, and I just was doing the baseline that I needed to get my things done and to do the things that life requires without piling too much on my plate. And I am finally in a space now again where I feel so much lighter and I feel more free. I feel more like myself again. I feel more aligned with myself, more grounded. And there's a few reasons for this. I'm going to talk about all of them today, but I disappeared for a reason. I could not show up here. I could not show up in a lot of places, to be completely honest with you. I blew off a few of my family Christmas things and just kind of like shrunk into myself for a little bit. I felt very hollow, very detached, and I'm going to get into some of the reasons why I felt that way, but I am going to be very upfront about my mental health this season of the podcast, because I do think that it's valuable to share experiences and thoughts and opinions when going through hard stuff. And I just hope that in listening to me and listening to my experience and how I've kind of navigated it and how I'm continuing to heal from it, I hope that that can help you navigate something similar in your life in a healthier and lighter way for you too. Okay, so I'm going to start with what I was doing wrong. For the last season of the podcast, I felt very hypocritical. And the biggest reason for that is because I do tend to give a lot of advice on how to navigate relationships, how to stand firm in boundaries, how to make sure that you are living authentically and aligned with what you believe is right. And while I was saying all of these things to you, I was not listening to them. I did find myself in a space where I allowed my own trauma to put me in this space where I really just believed that if I loved this person more, if I gave more, if I did things their way, that they would in turn love me and reciprocate that back. And the harsh reality is that that is not true. You cannot force someone to love you. You cannot force someone to hear you, to see you. That is something that they need to do on their own, that they want to do. They have to want to do that on their own. And it is a harsh reality. That's a really tough thing to come to terms with. And so not only did I feel like I was being abandoned by this person in my life, I also was subconsciously abandoning myself by not reinforcing the boundaries that I was setting. And this contributed to me feeling really unsettled, really just unhappy and unfulfilled, because, at the end of the day, I do believe that the love that you give yourself is a reflection of how you feel about yourself, and the love that you accept from others is a reflection of that as well. And I just found myself in this space where I had spent such a long time and so much money and effort on really healing a lot of pieces of myself that were not useful in my toolbox and that were not helping me get to where I wanted to be. And it was very hard to pull myself out of those comforts. I am someone that feels very comfortable in chaos, secure being surrounded by the uncertain. And a big reason for that is because I have spent a lot of my life having to kind of be the peacekeeper and, monitor everyone's feelings around me to keep balance and to make sure that everyone is doing okay and feeling okay. And I have previously taken a lot of responsibility for that. And so it has been very easy for me to set my needs aside and my wants aside in favor of my family members, my friends, my partners, and it ends up leaving me very empty. And that has also aligned me with people that have taken advantage of that. And, you know, some of that responsibility is not on me. Some of that lies in the people that see kindness and generosity and care, and they pull that energy because they know that they can. And some of that responsibility lies with me because I saw what was happening. I felt what was happening. And I loved this person enough to put on some rose-colored glasses and ignore those feelings in myself to try and heal them. I did genuinely believe that if I could help heal and care for this person, that they would be so grateful that they would love me in the way that I needed. And I say that out loud. And it makes me feel really sad. For them and for me. That one got me good. Because no one should feel that way. No one needs to feel like a project that needs to be fixed or healed. And no one deserves to feel like they are not enough just as they are. I know in my core that I am a kind and thoughtful, smart, generous, fun, creative, driven person. I know that those qualities are pieces of me, but I do tend to forget that and dismiss those things when I get in my head about how someone else is treating me. I still struggle a lot with my self-worth being tied to the love that I receive. And so something that I've really been working on is loving myself in the way that I would a partner. Because when I am in a partnership, I'm there. I am all in right off the bat. I do have a bit of a hard time with just like keeping the balance between that 0 and 100 point. And it conflicts in myself because I also do strongly believe that there are different access levels for different people in your life. I don't think that everyone in your life, everyone that crosses your path deserves 100% access to you. I think that there is very like clear levels to those things. And so I am having difficulty navigating that in my life right now. And what I've been trying to kind of pivot to is giving myself the love that I would give to a partner. And so that has some different forms that, you know, looks a little different depending day to day. If I feel like my body is being a little bit more run down, I'm working too much, feeling a little burnt out, I literally take a whole day and just like lay in bed, watch some comfy shows, eat some comfy food, and I listen very carefully to my body at this point. I'm sure you have noticed this little thing on my wrist. I'm now a sporty gal. I did have to switch out the silicone strap because I'm not a silicone strap gal. I also, like, generally am not a big jewelry wearer. So this has been odd. It's been about 2 months now that I have had this little Fitbit. Part of the reason I did the Fitbit is because it's smaller, and I didn't want it connected to my phone. I can still get like I think, notifications sent to the Fitbit, but I have all of that turned off. I am actively trying to spend less time on my phone and just like internet and stuff in general. Even TV and things like that. I'm trying to spend time off of those things because I recognize that it's a very slippery slope and the doom scrolling was not helping. So I got the Fitbit to pay a little bit closer attention to my body, pay a little bit closer attention to the movement that I'm doing with my body and my nutrition, my water, my sleep. One of the bigger ones is sleep, honestly, because I was really struggling with sleep for a honestly, this has been a big eye opener. I actually last night had my highest sleep score, which was really exciting. I had an 86, which is good. And that feels really good to me, to be able to like see the care that I'm putting into my body. I am a very logic-based person, which, you know, is kind of funny because I'm also super spiritual, but I think those things do go hand in hand, especially, you know, when I have conversations with people about how I approach it and kind of how I view it. It does make sense. But being able to kind of see the numbers and the stats and keep track of things a little bit more diligently has been eye-opening for me. I was not treating my body the best, and I also really was unaware of the stress that I was carrying with me all of the time. Just the physical impact that the stress that I was dealing with. Stress will kill you. I was not sleeping. Like days at a time, would get 2 to 4 hours of sleep. My muscles and like joints were extremely tight and uncomfortable. I was constantly uncomfortable. I was constantly dealing with aches and pains. I was constantly dealing with a headache, like going through a week. If I had one day that was like whole 24 hours without having a headache, I was like thrilled. My appetite was very up and down. I would go for like weeks without eating anything, 2 weeks eating everything in sight. Just coping with my stress in very unhealthy ways, and just, you know, I abandoned a lot of my physical movement practices that I had been very into. I was someone that previous to this relationship, I was extremely active, and I do genuinely love being physically active. It feels very good to me. I really enjoy it, especially if it's something I can do outside. I'm not really like a big gym person, and I have a few reasons for that, but the gym is just not for me. I'm not like a group class person. I like to do physical movement on my own a lot. It feels very sacred to me, and it is a way that I take care of myself too, that I care for myself. And so I'm a big yoga lover. I love yoga. I start every day with yoga at this point in my life currently. And so something that I love to do is start my day with yoga and a little bit of meditation. I find that the slow, like really controlled, intentional movement puts me in a really grounded headspace. I feel very connected to my body. I feel more open. I feel lighter, and I feel like I can move. I don't feel so stiff and tight and like trapped in my body. And part of this also is that I've started doing some somatic trauma-informed yoga, because I do know that I have more than just this ex relationship stored in my body. And for anyone that has gotten into or is, you know, a practicing somatic or trauma-informed yogi, that shit is crazy. The amount of trauma and emotion that we store in our bodies that we might not be aware of is wild. Especially for women in our hips. I have had multiple somatic yoga sessions where I have sobbed as soon as we have started doing hip openers, because I have just been so tense, and it takes, even now, like I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling a lot lighter, but I am starting my day with yoga. I get out of bed, I drink some water, I cleanse my space and myself, I let the sage burn, I do a 5-minute meditation, and then depending on the day and also the part of my menstrual cycle that I'm in, I do about 45 minutes to an hour of yoga. Half of that is somatic and trauma informed. It's very slow. It's very intentional. It's very focused on releasing tension from my body. And then the last half is more of like a power yoga, moving a little bit quicker. Your flow's a little bit quicker, and it's more strength building as well. So it's more of like, it's closer to a workout, I guess you could say. So I'm getting a good balance of something that makes me feel strong, something that makes me feel grounded, something that makes me feel light, and I do it immediately when I wake up. I don't do anything else other than like drink some water, and sometimes I'll splash my face with some water just to kind of wake myself up if I'm like a little sleepy that day. I also do it mostly in the dark. I do have my little moon lamp back here. Usually that gal is on. And I light some candles, and depending on where the moon is, if it's close to a new moon or a full moon, I will put some crystals out and just surround myself with things that feel really supportive and really loving and very warm. I'm very much about like a cozy practice. I have a like fluffy blanket that I put under my yoga mat, so it's like extra cushy, comfy. And so I'm slowly kind of moving closer into this practice of taking better care of myself, and it's just coming from a place of like, I deserve the love that I put out, and so I'm gonna give that to me. So I do want to talk about some other practices and just kind of other things that I've been doing. I really, for this year, if you listened to the last off-brand episode that was released in January, we talked a little bit about New Year's resolutions and starting things in the new year and setting intentions and picking a word for the new year. And my word that I chose was power. And I think that this applies in a couple different ways. I want to feel strong and secure in myself and who I am again, because I have felt a little bit lost in that space. And the other half of it is that I want to reconnect with the spiritual side of myself. And this is something I've been really intentional about. I used to be someone who was very in tune with the moon and, with astrology, and regardless of how you feel about that kind of thing, it is something that's really important to me and that I do believe in quite wholeheartedly. And so, like I said, with doing yoga, like I have my sage and I have my crystals and my candles. And so this week there was a full moon, and I did end up doing a full moon ceremony, and that was the first I've done in years. And this was a practice that I used to do with every new moon and every full moon, every single month. And I love this shit, okay? I love it. It is a practice that, again, feels very grounding for me and self-connecting. I also am someone who has always consistently, had my cycle line up with the full moon. And so, I don't know, it just feels very powerful to partake in those practices again and connect myself with the universe that we live in. I think that, everything is made of matter. We're all specks of dust and stars, and we live in a universe that is full of magic and power and energy. And I think that it's really fulfilling to be able to connect with those sources and connect with our universe and our environment and work with it as much as we possibly can. And so if you're interested in any of that, I can give you information. There's a lot, so I'm not going to go into it too deep here. But with the full moon in particular, it is very much about release. And so I have been this week working a lot on releasing things that no longer serve me and just kind of letting myself let everything wash away that needs to wash away. Losing my attachment to things, losing my expectations for things, and just allowing life to be what it is, being present, navigating it in the best way that I can at this point in my life with the tools that are in my box. And really my focus is coming back to myself again. And so I can see and feel the changes happening inside that are the direct result of me taking better care of myself and prioritizing myself and removing things and people and spaces from my life that are not good for me, whether I want to be in them or not. If they're not good for me, I am not going to be there. And that's so hard. That's so hard. I love the people around me so much. And when I take someone into my circle, like, I ride or fucking die for the people that I love. And that includes die very much. It's very strong. Just allowing myself to become a shell for someone else's benefit, I'm really trying to rework that and rewire that in my brain and understand that my worth is not in how I can be of service to people. That's a big one. I think I found a new therapist. I'm pretty sure. I've only done a small handful of sessions with someone new, because my previous therapist, who I'd been seeing for like years, retired, which was also just awful. Such a sad moment. It took me a really long time to find my ex-therapist. She was phenomenal. We got along so well. She like totally understood me. I felt very comfortable with her. And so it was really daunting to find someone else, especially being in this place in my life where I was like, I genuinely felt like I was walking into our first meeting and just kind of like dumping out my purse on the couch of this new person that knows nothing about me. And I'm also someone that tends to outwardly have things together, as this podcast has previously displayed. Season 2, like I said, I was giving good advice and seeming pepped and happy and like I was doing well. And I was not. I was masking. For most of the last 3 years, I had a very firm and very secure mask on, trying to handle everything by myself, do everything on my own. And that gets you nowhere. I struggle with asking for help. I struggle with letting people know what's going on in my life when it's difficult. And so having some very upfront and honest conversations about what I was going through with my family members and my friends, some of those conversations actually ended up being pieces of the catalyst that really pulled me away from my ex. It's a very humbling and exposing process to explain the things that you've been going through in private to someone that you love for the first time. I'm very fortunate to have many people in my life that care deeply and that know me very well. And it was very difficult to talk to them about what I was feeling, where I was at mentally, what I was going through, what I had been going through, I am not someone who will speak negatively about someone that is close to me because I don't want others to see them negatively. And while I see value in that, and I don't think that it's healthy to like talk shit about the people in your life, I think that if something is negatively impacting you and making you feel bad or sad or low or mentally ill or anything like that, that you should be speaking to someone about it. And whether that is a therapist, you know, depending on the support and the community that you have. Oh, I'm just thinking about mine again. You got to get it out. If you just keep everything bottled up, eventually it has to go somewhere. And it is so fucking hard to open up when your bottle is full. But a fast pour out is much better than an explosion. And so my experience with this was really eye-opening. One of the first people that I was very honest about with everything that was going on with my ex and the space that I was mentally in was my oldest friend. She has been my best friend for over 20 years. She knows me probably better than anyone else in my life. And I messaged her kind of out of the blue one day and basically sent this big text, and bless her heart. I love this person, this friend of mine, so much, because it was like the perfect response balanced with so much love, but also like, listen the fuck up. And that's exactly what I needed. And initially, it didn't feel great because it was what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. I felt so heard and so seen by this friend. And that was something that I hadn't experienced in such a long time, that it was a wake-up call. It was exactly what I needed. It was that last kind of push and that last voice to hear, to really put me in the space that I needed to be in to let go for good and move forward instead of staying stuck where I was. And that's a good friend, y'all. It's exactly what I needed. And almost immediately after kind of having the rest of that conversation with her, I reached out to another friend of mine and was very upfront about everything that was happening. And I said, like, I've talked to this friend. This is where I'm at. And I basically said, this is what I'm going to do. This is what needs to happen. I am going to need your love and support through this. And I'm very grateful and fortunate that, again, this friend was like, whew, really getting myself today. That friend also was like, yeah, I got you. No worry. Like, I'm here for you, whatever you need. And the response was the same from my family. And it was just this like moment talking with all of these loved ones and really sitting with myself and having to come to terms with a few different things. One being that I had been doing so much on my own for so long and literally did not need to at all. I had this support system, my family and my friends who love me so deeply. And if I had leaned into that sooner, I probably could have saved myself a lot of hurt and time. And, you know, time, the sunken cost and sunken time fallacy comes into mind there, where, you know, I don't necessarily think that any time is wasted, but I do think that there was time that I spent unnecessarily hurting that could have been avoided if I had just reached out to more people in my life sooner. I think I put myself through more than I needed to in the name of love. And that is a theme for me. I am a very romantic, loving, like hopeless romantic kind of person. It's something that I really want for myself. It's something that I really want to give to others. I think love is such a powerful human thing. And I have spent a lot of my life with people that did not love me. And I have spent periods of my life being very desperate for love. And it's put me in a lot of positions that have been really traumatizing and painful for me. And so letting go of my need and attachment for that reciprocation of the love that I give has been so difficult, but also very freeing. Okay, I took a little pause, took a little break just to kind of like gather myself together again. I was getting real close to, you know, just the edge of being extremely emotional. And while that's okay, I want to get through this episode. So I don't necessarily want to spend my day in the depths today. That's not the energy that I'm feeling. And so I just took a little pause and we're back now. I'm sure we'll come back to some emotions, but I honestly have just been in such an ebb and flow state, very up, very down. And the last month, I would say, like January was still pretty rough. I was still really low. January is honestly always miserable. It just feels so dark and cold, and I do very strongly believe in the power of the moon. I do believe that we should be going by the lunar calendar, because then every month would be the 4 week. It'd be perfect. Honestly, I'm here for the moon. And so like for me, when I think about the new year, I think about February because I think about the lunar new year. And so January's this like weird end of cycle feeling where like we've had New Year's and we've had Christmas, but it doesn't really feel that way to me. I still feel like there's more releasing to be done. Things are still winding down. I'm not ready to ramp back up yet. And so January, I really just tried to rest. If I had to pick a word for January, it would be rest. I tried to work as minimally as possible. I really just wanted to go inward. I just wanted to sink into myself for January. And I did that. I didn't really go out and do very much. I stuck to myself a lot more. I put time limits on my social media apps. I have it set to an hour a day between all of the apps. So, you know, there is absolutely the odd day that I go over and the little thing pops up and it's like, you've hit your time limit for the day. And I'm like, ignore time limit. But for the most part, I try really hard to stick to that hour because social media is something that does definitely impact me negatively. And I'm hoping that my camera is still working. It looks like it might be frozen. What is happening? Let's see. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what just happened. I think my camera may have froze. I'm not sure. The little thumbnail of the camera froze and wasn't moving. So I just reloaded. We're back. Hopefully this is fine. before I noticed that it froze, I was talking about how I like to be involved in politics, and I think it's very important to be informed, but that there is a fine balance to strike. And I am trying to find a better balance with that. Because when I'm mentally low to begin with, I do kind of get myself in this space through social media, like doom scrolling and politics, where I just see the world through really dark glasses. That is something I'm being really intentional about, is my screen time, and that extends past social media as well. I have do not disturb settings set on my phone to start at 8 p.m. and go till 7 a.m. the next day, and that is just kind of trying to persuade myself from being on my phone as much, being more present, being out in the world. I have made it a goal of mine to do an hour of raw dogging the world, is what I've been calling it, every day. So I'm not listening to music, I'm not watching anything, I'm not on my phone, I'm not reading a book. I'm literally just doing nothing. Raw dog in life, you know? Something I've noticed for myself and in others too is that attention spans have become almost non-existent, and I hate that for us. Just like patience and attention span. Like, I used to be able to sit down and read a book cover to cover and be just enthralled and love that time with my book. And I found myself in this space after not reading for a while where I really struggled to read a book. Like, truly and honestly, I would get maybe a chapter in and be like, I am fucking bored. Like, even if the book was a good book, I just could not keep my attention on one thing. And so I would feel inclined to like maybe put on some sort of music in the background, or like have a show on in the background and read my book. Like, so much stimulation all the time that I wasn't actually letting my mind rest at all. And so I was just stuck in this phase of constantly being on. And that's not good for you or for me, okay? It's not good for anyone. Not having any time to like really decompress and rest was weighing really heavily on me. Like, with the lack of patience and attention span, I found myself getting really irritable. And again, with like the littlest thing would just like tip me off and would like snowball for the rest of my day. And that's just not where I want to be. That's not how I want to feel. That's not the energy that I want to carry around in public with me. And so it's been very important for me to unplug from all of that. I haven't really been playing any video games either, which I was actually thinking about this earlier because some updates came out for one of the games that I like was really heavily playing. And I do tend to kind of gravitate towards the simulation games, Sims being one of them, Dreamlight Valley, stuff like that, like cozy life simulator games. And I really haven't felt inclined at all to play any sort of video games for about 2 months. And I'm laughing about that right now because I know why. And it's a little bit confronting, honestly, because I have noticed a bit of a trend with the video games that I play. And so I have come to the realization that in times of my life where I'm feeling really mentally low and I'm struggling a lot with my reality, I enjoy escaping to my simulation games. And I'm sure, honestly, that is accurate for a lot of people. I think that those games, any video games, are an escape from the real world. And in doses, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playing any of these games. But for me, I know that when my life is going really well and I'm feeling really aligned and really fulfilled and happy with my life, I don't even think about the video games. I literally had my PlayStation unplugged until like a week ago or so. And the only reason I plugged it back in was to check out the new update that came out. And I played for like maybe 10 minutes and then the game crashed and I just turned it off. I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't feel inclined to like sit and load the game again so that I can play. Like, I just don't want to. And I think that's because the last couple months, while they have been really difficult, I would say January in particular, February has felt quite a bit lighter. Now we're in March, but I've just focused on rewriting everything. I have been focused on what makes me happy, what I want, what I don't want, and I have been following all of that to a T. I have not been compromising on those things. I've been very firm in my boundaries with everyone in my life, and I'm in this space right now, presently, where I feel really good about where I'm headed, what I'm doing, the people that I'm surrounding myself with. I feel very strong. I feel very confident. I feel calm and rested and whole. I just feel really good. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. I honestly didn't really realize until like February how much of my time I was spending thinking about my ex-relationship and just like poring over every detail of it and stressing out about every little thing that I did and how it was going to be seen or received, what I was going to be walking into when I saw them, what kind of version of them I was going to get. I was just like trying to hold all of these broken pieces of a cup together all by myself. And when I finally just let the cup break and left it on the plate and walked away from it, it freed so much of me. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I think that we learn the lessons we need to learn in the time that we need to learn them in. There is no correct timeline for dealing with separating from someone or breaking up with someone or cutting someone from your life or, dealing with hardship. And I think that everyone does it in the way that they are supposed to. And I think that as difficult as it was and as up and down as it was and as long as it took me, I think I needed to go through all of it to really come to a space in my life where I know what I want, I know what I don't want, and I'm okay with letting things go if they don't fit into the life that I want for myself and that I deserve and need. That doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't take any of that away at all. But I know that I'm strong and I know that I am powerful, especially when I focus on myself and I'm intentional and I'm grounded with myself. The more that I tend to, look inward and really focus on me, the better everything around me goes. I still definitely have a lot of healing to do. Forever will have a lot of healing to do. But I am really proud of myself for sticking with decisions that I've made, really listening to my voice instead of other people's, doing what I think is right, and navigating my life in that way. I feel very connected to a lot of different spiritual practices right now. I feel very connected to a lot of pieces of the universe, and especially with Lunar New Year and starting the year of the fire horse, all of the knowledge that I have around that really resonates deeply with me. I do genuinely feel like I am experiencing a really big shift right now. And some of that I do believe is universal, and some of that I believe is just my own power and me just reaching such a concrete point of like, I cannot do this anymore. This is not the life I want for myself. Something's got to give. At the end of the day, I can recognize that I am the common denominator in the relationships that I've been a part of. And so, you know, if the people that I'm joining these partnerships with are not aligning, I need to figure out what within me is attracted to these people and feels like I want to have these people in my life. But yeah, I do like genuinely just like in my soul so deeply feel like I am on the precipice of just like a brand new life, which is scary, but also really exciting. I am just doing things differently. I've adjusted my work schedule. I am officially working 3 days a week, because that is something that feels healthy and manageable for me with my mental health and my physical health. I've pivoted my services that I'm offering a little bit. I did share a little post, I don't know, like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, about one of the new services that I'm offering. I found myself also feeling a little hypocritical in my business. I work in aesthetics in the beauty industry, and it conflicts a lot with my belief that everyone is beautiful in their own way and that we should allow age to come upon us gracefully and allow ourselves to look like what we look like, and just genuinely like accept ourselves as we are. And so I was having a hard time with work because, you know, it's a small business. I run it by myself, and, you know, you have to market your business to people. And so I'm still trying to kind of find this space where I feel comfortable with marketing my services because I do feel like they are beneficial to people. But at the end of the day, I don't want anyone to feel like they need my services to be a better version of themselves, or to be more attractive, or to be attractive at all. I don't like that mentality. I don't like the thought of going like, do your lashes suck? Then come get a lash lift and I'll fix you. Like that kind of mentality and that language, the verbiage there that's used in a lot of beauty marketing just doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that feeling. I don't like having clients come in and going like, oh my God, my brows look terrible. I keep looking in the mirror being like, ugh, gross, because I haven't had my brows waxed in 3 weeks. And I'm like, ugh. Like it gives me the ick, honestly. I don't want people feeling like that. I don't want to be having any hand in people feeling like that. I always try and reiterate, you know, like, oh, you left your brows an extra week. That's my favorite. I love when brows are overgrown. I think they still look great, but let's clean them up for you so that you feel a little bit, you know, more put together or whatever it is. And I try and kind of like steer away from you're not pretty if your brows aren't done kind of ideology. And so I have pivoted a little bit as far as the services that I'm offering. Some of them are still appearance-based. They're aesthetics-based. It's in the name. There is 2 different forms of aesthetics, one with an A and one with an E, and they are 2 different things, just in case you didn't know. But I have pivoted a little bit to offer more relaxing and restorative services, just honestly in an effort to help other people feel good. within their bodies, within their minds, within their souls, doing some Reiki sensory session stuff. It's all very customized to, what I think is beneficial. And that has also been really helpful, just to feel like I'm having a bigger impact on people's mental health, on people's physical health, versus feeding into the idea that you need certain services to be pretty or to be like the hot girl or whatever kind of phrasing you want to use. Hot girls do whatever the fuck they want. Just saying. I do also want to talk about my Mexico trip a little bit. Honestly, this trip came at like the perfect time. I went with my mom's family. There was 11 of us, and it was phenomenal. This is kind of conflicting because I am an air sign. I'm a Libra, but I love the water. I love being in the water. I have always loved being in the water. I'm just like a fish in the water. It feels so like home to me. I'm comfortable in the water, and it just has always felt so cleansing and like magical to me. And so getting the opportunity during this time of my life to go be in the ocean was incredible. I'm getting a little emotional. Because I needed that shit. I needed that shit so bad. The last time that I had gone on basically the exact same trip with my whole mom's family, to the same place, same resort, all of this stuff, I went with my ex. And so any of the memories, all of the memories that I had in this place, this was also the last like out of country trip that I had taken, was the same trip, but with my ex and my family. And so last time I was there, and the only other time that I was there, all of those memories were with this other person. And so honestly, going into the trip, even though I was starting to feel better about the choice to not have them in my life, there was a piece of me that was really dreading the trip because I didn't know how my emotions were going to hit. I didn't know how I was going to feel once I got there. I was also the only person in my family that was like not part of a pair, which was very different. I was like the only like single person there, outside of my two younger cousins, but brother and sister. So they were also kind of like any pictures that we took or anything like that, everyone had a partner in the picture except for me. And that sucked, honestly. I am very comfortable on my own, and I'm happy to be in the space that I'm in right now. But it was really hard to be the odd one out for everything. We took family photos. We had some pictures taken on this like excursion that we did by the guide that was with us. And it was just hard. It was hard to feel alone in those moments. Driving into the resort, I did have a little cry. Kind of looked over at my mom and gave her like a little nudge, and we just like held hands for a sec, because the last time that we had done that drive, I was with my ex-partner, and that initial trip where they had come with me did have some difficult moments too. To me, that trip kind of felt like the beginning of the end. And so going back at this time in my life, it felt kind of like a full circle moment where I could confront those memories and the thoughts and the feelings that came along with like, hey, the last time I was here, a lot of it felt good, but some of it felt not good. And so being back in those same spaces, knowing that I had finally let go of this person, but that it was 4 years later, it it was tough. Initially, I did not feel great about it. I felt pretty sad. I felt pretty lonely. And I just was like in my head a little bit about it. And as the trip went on, I just kind of was really gentle with myself, really kind with myself. I took some walks really early in the morning. I would just like get up with the sun at like 6:30 and go walk, get a coffee. There was some kitties on the resort, so like have some kitty time. And I am grateful for the timing of the trip, because I definitely felt the shift. And there's, I think, a couple reasons for that. Partly because I was just intentionally working through all of the feelings and the old memories and the old emotions that were coming up when we initially arrived. Halfway through that trip, we transitioned into the new lunar year of the fire horse. So I also experienced that transition while I was there. And so I kind of got to take my memories and feelings and leave them in the old year and start the new lunar year in a brand new place with the ocean to cleanse myself and my family around me, and come home kind of like a new version of me. It very much felt like a chrysalis trip. I went in as the caterpillar, flew there, spent probably the first 2 days as a caterpillar, got cozy in my chrysalis for a couple days, and then emerged and flew home as a butterfly. Saying that out loud feels very true. That's exactly how it felt to me. It was really nice to just like, I didn't get like a phone plan or anything. And so we had Wi-Fi on the resort. So I was like able to like communicate with people still, and post things about my trip that I was doing. But I wasn't spending any time on my phone outside of like uploading a picture or taking a photo or checking in with like the people that are close with me. And I'm extremely grateful that I was fortunate enough to have that experience with my family, and just the experience in general, just to be able to travel there and experience so much of nature's beauty and our Earth's beauty and appreciate it so fully, and really just be like with myself in a different place, in the sun and the water and with kitties. It was a phenomenal trip, and I'm not going to speak about any of the cartel militia stuff that was happening in Mexico. I don't want to be any part of fuel to the fire with any of that. Mexico is a beautiful place, and so are the people that live in Mexico. I have nothing negative to say about it. I'm not going to be fear-mongering or anything like that. Tragedy happens in every country. So I was very grateful to spend my time there. And I was fortunate to spend my time there. And yeah, I needed to get away for a little bit. It was extremely good timing, and I really used it to my advantage to just be able to like unplug and connect with the universe and the earth. And I came home. It's been 2 weeks now that I've been home, just about. And I feel like me. And I haven't. It's been a while since I have felt like me. Like genuinely like me. And so to be in this space after not being sure that I could find my way back here, is something I'm very grateful for. There has been times in my life where I didn't know how long my life was going to be, if I wanted it to be long. And the last few years have been in and out of that again. And I always say that I hope I don't end up back there, but as someone who deals with mental illness and has a lot of trauma to still work on healing, I am not ignorant to the fact that I will most likely ebb and flow through those phases again of not knowing what a future looks like. But I will say that the more intentional I am about my life and who I am, where I want to be, spending time with myself, listening to myself, prioritizing myself, I've given a lot of credit to my cat and my family and my friends for saving me a lot. But I am very grateful that I have built the strength at this point in my life. Where I saved me. Okay, I've gotten a lot off my chest. I feel quite a bit lighter. Part of the reason that this took me so long to record is shame, honestly. I didn't like the fact that I felt hypocritical about giving all of this advice and showing up online as though I've got my shit together and have a good understanding of all of these things about how to navigate relationships and the world and all of these things, when I was not doing that in my personal life, my real life. It felt super hypocritical, and I just felt shame about it. And I've worked through most of that. Still working on a little bit of that, but this episode will help. My goal with this podcast has always been and will always be to share my thoughts and my experiences in hopes that you can take something from this and navigate your life in a better way for you. Maybe avoid some of the mistakes that have caused me pain in my life. Maybe come to some realizations sooner to save yourself some pain or some time. I just want to leave my mark on the world in that way. We don't know when our last day is coming, and it's very important to me to leave a legacy behind of kindness and care and generosity and love. I want to be remembered as someone that made other people feel safe and good and loved and cared for, and that's it. And so I'm going to be very intentional about that moving forward. I want this to be a space where you can come find comfort in the fact that we are all human and we are all going through our own shit. Just because you don't see it in the stuff that we post daily online, or you don't see it when you come visit in the studio or when we go for coffee or whatever it is, everyone is going through their shit. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes missteps. Everyone makes wrong decisions. Everyone hurts or gets angry or, navigates life in ways that they maybe aren't proud of for a little bit. And I just hope that in sharing the way that I do things, it helps someone else feel more comfortable, feel supported, and feel less alone. I don't really know what the future of this podcast looks like. I just want to have it evolve with me as I move through my life. And right now I'm in a period of a lot of self-reflection and self-work and personal growth. And I want to be very upfront and transparent about everything I'm going through, everything that I'm doing with my life, whether it's positive or negative. I am going to be sharing all of it because I think that there's so much value in sharing human experience, and that's what I'm here for. I want to connect with people through that. I want other people to know that they're not alone in going through what they're going through. And, you know, I have been through some shit, but I'm doing it. I'm doing the damn thing. And if we can do that together, I'm happy. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate you spending your time with me, listening to me, and, you know, just sharing energy with me for this episode, whether it is daytime or nighttime, morning, whenever you're listening to this. Thank you for, wow, lots of gratitude. Thank you for spending your time with me. This podcast means a lot to me. I did not expect this in the outro. Okay. Let's navigate this together. Yeah, this podcast means a lot. And I am grateful to have a platform where anyone listens to me, whether it's 5 people, whether it's 50 people, it doesn't matter to me. I just appreciate the fact that you have taken time out of your day to spend with me, to listen to me, to, you know, share energy with me in this space. It's really important to me to be here and to show up here and to share my thoughts and feelings and experiences. And everyone only has 24 hours in a day, and everyone's 24 hours are different. And so the fact that you have dedicated some of your 24 hours to hanging out with me is something I'm very grateful for. Really trying to get these words out. I'm just very appreciative. I'm very grateful. I feel very fortunate. And I extra appreciate those of you that have waited since season 2 for me to get my butt on this couch to find the space to do this. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding, and for showing up here with me. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next episode.